Hi everyone, happy Friday. So I wanted to talk today about something that I know can really cause a lot of frustration for kids and for parents when kids are reading, whether they are just starting to read, they've been, whether they're struggling with reading difficulties for a while, or and just in terms of how to address that, and it can feel like there's just no fix, so to speak. And that is, first of all, basically the letter reversal. So when kids, whether they're reading, they mix up their B's and their D's. When they're writing, they might do the same thing. Poor handwriting. So whether it's just difficulty getting their thoughts on paper, as well as just poor, it's not legible, as well as dyspraxia or poor coordination and so forth, and how these things are all linked. And you might feel like you're running all over the place trying to fix all of these problems, and your child might even have all of these diagnoses or multiple diagnoses, when in fact, letter reversals, poor eye tracking, you might not even know your child has poor eye tracking. I can't tell you how many kids come through my office and have poor eye tracking. Their parents didn't realize it, but poor eye tracking in terms of just being able to track, smoothly across the page, because if they can't do that smoothly, they're going to have a hard time decoding, and reading is going to be really laborious. These kids might have to follow with their finger because they lose their place easily. And then also even kids who are fidgety, and I mentioned kids who have poor handwriting, all of this can be connected to poor visual motor function. And that is not something that dyslexia is going to improve. That tutoring is going to improve, or remedial reading programs. And again, it's not that these things are bad, it's just right action at the right time. So if you're seeing this phenomenal tutor, maybe you've heard they've had phenomenal results, but your child has poor visual motor function, you're not going to see those same results until we address that poor visual motor function. So one of the big factors that can contribute to poor visual motor function are weak core muscles. And this might seem kind of surprising at first, so listen up. This is really important to know, because when a kid or a child has poor visual motor function, first of all, it's going to affect their balance. So these are the kids who are wiggly. They could be the kid who's always fidgeting and so forth, or always switching. They have to sit on their knees and they have to sit like that, and they just can't sit on their bottoms and so forth. And when those core muscles are weak, it's going to affect the coordination of every other muscle in the body, including the eye muscles. It's going to affect the coordination of their fine motor muscles, so like their handwriting. It's going to affect their ability to track words smoothly on a page. And that's where the eye instability comes into place, and why letter reversals can be such a problem. And that kind of, I hope, makes it clear of why tutoring is not going to address something like that. So wiggly kids typically have weak core muscles, but obviously, as you know, it goes deeper than that. And so the long and the short of it is that good gross motor development and strong core muscles equals better fine motor skills. The gross motor has to precede the fine motor development. And most of the kids I work with have poor gross motor skills, even if they are athletic. So it's not always super obvious. These kids could be super clumsy kids. They could be kids who struggle in different ways, so forth, with movement. Or it might not be super obvious until we start screening for that, until we start screening for primitive reflexes, which I've talked about before, and so forth. So when we start working on these aspects of strengthening the core muscles, integrating those primitive reflexes, which is all connected to that, then all of a sudden the eye tracking improves. Their reading becomes more fluent because they're not working so hard to decode. Their handwriting improves. And all of this is because their eyes are more stable. And if this seems kind of like far-fetched, like how the heck does, eye tracking have to do with weak core muscles and so forth? Imagine you're standing on one of those wobbly boards and you're not very good at it, and you're trying to keep your balance, and you're being asked to read at the same time. That's really what it's like for these kids. I'm exaggerating in the sense that it doesn't mean that like they when they're reading, it's like they're on a wobbly board. It's more subtle, but that's where there's going to be these errors of B's and P's, or Q's and P's and so forth, where they might say the letters move, or they just have to, they're not even realizing it sometimes. I can't tell you how many kids I've worked with, we improve that, and they're like, wow, I had no idea that I had to work like that this was not normal of what they were experiencing, that all of a sudden things were just smooth and they could read fluently through it and so forth. So eye stability is huge, and balance is a huge part of that. So this isn't something you're going to pick up